Hey everyone, today's guest is John Ranello, who may have the best mobility of any 75-year-old that I've ever seen. So today, John's going to detail his approach for fitness, mobility, longevity, and a whole bunch of other stuff. So with that, welcome, John, and let's get into it.
Okay, Mike, great to be here.
Thanks, John. So, all right, I mentioned your mobility, and those who are watching now, I'm showing videos demonstrating your mobility. So, if you could walk us through your approach, and so how many days per week? What are you doing on each day? How long is it? What's the intensity of it? Like, what's your overall training approach for fitness, mobility, and even longevity?
Well, I would say this, Michael. The one thing I do every day, never miss, I do a 40-minute flexibility, core strength, uh, jump rope exercise that I do. I do a great deal of footwork drills, agility drill work, all kinds of different drills with my feet, and also, believe it or not, with my hands, juggling balls and trying to do the juggling and the footwork, maybe like the karaoke, the grapevine, at the same time as I'm juggling. So I would say that I am more focused probably on flexibility and mobility than most people are. So every day, 40 minutes, I never miss that.
So that's the same flexibility, mobility workout that you do every day?
Well, I change it around quite a bit. I use, a lot of kind of sticks for flexibility in my shoulders and back. I use all kinds of different objects that have. I'm kind of a fitness geek freak, buying fitness, different pieces of equipment. Right now, I'm using this David Weck vest that he has, where I jump up and down with this vest. So I use a lot of variety and a lot of different kind of modalities as far as being in shape. But I'm trying not to bore myself, and I'm trying to make it as interesting for myself as possible.
So your workouts aren't set and static, it's dynamic where,
It, yes,
yep.
definitely dynamic. I like to get outside. I have my own garage gym where I have a big parking lot where I can do a lot of drills out there by myself. I do a lot of box jumping. I jump over hurdles, things like that. So what I'm basically trying to do is to retain my youthful athleticism. I'm trying to trick my body and my brain into thinking that I'm actually younger than I am. Now, besides that, during the week, now I work in the fitness business. I'm a personal trainer. I still work full time. So I'm around weights a lot, but I lift weights, heavy weights, 3 times a week for probably an hour and a half each time. Now, to do that, I have to get up early in the morning. I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, have a little breakfast, get to the gym at 5, and I start work at 7 o'clock. So I have a kind of a tight schedule with that. Also, I'm a big believer in sprinting. I think that sprinting is the key exercise to do. If you think back to when you were in your best shape, you were probably doing some form of sprinting, whether it was football drills or playing soccer or baseball, sprinting was involved. So I think for me, sprinting releases human growth hormone. It releases all kinds of neurochemicals in my brain, dopamine and norepinephrine, which makes me feel great. And because I feel so good about it, I want to continue doing it. Also, another thing I do is I train with guys, 2 guys who are 25 years younger than me. So therefore, they make me work hard. I also like to go out and have them throw me a 40-yard pass with a football and see if I can catch that ball over my head. So all of that is very difficult to do when you're older, but it keeps your brain and body in peak condition.
Yeah, definitely, John. And you're doing a great job of that. Wait, so I'm still trying to nail down the details. So what I'm hearing is every day that mobility routine is 45 minutes, except for or in addition to your weightlifting workouts, which are 90 minutes each, 3 days per week. So
Yes, in addition to, in addition
in
to. I mean, I
Okay.
wake up and do this stretching routine on a regular basis, just part of my, like brushing my teeth in the morning or whatever, something I do every morning to get myself prepared. Now, I think people have forgotten that when we did in high school or college play sports, there was a great deal of preparation involved. People just didn't go out and start doing things, So you have to prepare especially when we get older, you have to prepare the body for the impact that it's going to take. For example, when I sprint, I would do my 45-minute stretching routine before I even get to the gym. And then I work on the field and I do a series of speed drills, high knee, heel kick up, all kinds of different drills that I do. Um, I'll work out with the weight vest a little bit, jumping, alerting my neuromuscular system. So I'm trying to get myself ready. And so for that, I have to prepare my feet and my hands to catch the ball and so on and so forth. Now, also, I try to do a lot of anaerobic work. So during the day, maybe after my lunch, I have a little time before I start training again. I'll jump rope or I'll work hard on a bike where I'm really pushing myself. Short bursts of anaerobic kind of work. I don't do too much cardio stuff anymore. When I was younger, I was a cardio freak. I still have a resting heart rate of 36 beats per minute. And so my heart is in good shape. And the other thing is, I think we're not realizing a lot of times people ask me, what are you taking? Are you taking TRT? Are you on some kind of supplements? Or what is it that you're taking? I don't believe, I believe in what's called the endogenous reward system. In other words, the body itself, my brain, as I sprint and do that, is producing these feel-good chemicals that I couldn't possibly buy and make me feel so good. There's nothing that could make me feel that good to do that. So I believe in what's called the endogenous reward system. Most people in our culture look for the exogenous, outside of ourselves. There must be a pill he's taking. There must be something he's doing that's giving him this energy and vitality.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And we'll drill down to all of those details too. I'm still trying to nail down the routine. So, because I think it's essential, as people are watching your mobility videos that I'm interspersing throughout, this video as we're talking, so they can physically see, that your movement pattern, your gait is not of a 75-year-old. It's someone of far younger. I don't want to say 50, some number younger. So that 45-minute routine is it? Oh, all right, wait. So the 45-minute routine, and then you're doing additional stuff throughout the day, every day, right? I
Most
got that.
likely, yes.
Okay, all
Yes.
right. So hang on. So the 45-minute routine, this is as soon as you wake up, is that static where you have a set the movements that you're doing, the flexibility, mobility stuff that you're doing, it's standardized where it's in an order, a certain amount of sets and reps. So tell us about that.
Well, basically, what I'm trying to do is get my back and my body moving. So I'm doing some arm circles. I'm doing uh, knee to chest kind of exercises. I'm moving myself pretty much around. I'll use a stability ball. I like to get my back against a stability ball and squat as low as I can and then arch my back. So I'm trying to keep the mobility of my spine going, but mostly I'm trying to get my legs. So I'll be doing easy squats to warm up. And then I'll be doing some squat jumps where I'm jumping up and down. But it's a warm up first. It's a progression type of thing where I'm doing arms across my chest. I'm just basically doing a lot of mobility kind of work. And then what I'm trying to get to is I'm trying to get on. I have this device called the sand dune stepper. It's something I stand on and I can practice my sprinting on it and I can practice jumping on it, jump rope on it. So I'm trying to warm myself up with lunges, squats, all kinds of leg exercises, just trying to get myself to the point where I can get out there and move my body as though I was going to play a game. And also another thing you should know about me is I love to play basketball. I like to get out on the basketball court and run up and down the court. I don't play games anymore because I don't want to get injured. But I love getting out there with the ball, practicing drills with the ball. So I'm big on complex motor skill moves. And I think complex motor skill moves, dribbling basketball through your legs and doing different drills like that is essential for brain health also, besides doing the movement type of exercises. But Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. You have more questions?
No, of course, yeah. So much to unpack. So, yeah, I saw that your basketball skills are definitely proficient. I mean, you're dribbling, two balls at the same time or between the legs, behind the back. I mean, it's. Did you play basketball? And I'm going to go
Yes,
back.
I played, just in high school. I wasn't a big star in high school, but I played basketball. I love basketball. It's my favorite sport. I didn't play football so much, but I love it now because these two gentlemen I played with were college players, and they can really throw me the ball. And I just love going out there and learning new kind of patterns of going out there. And it's kind of thrilling for me to look over my shoulder and catch a ball over my head when you're 75 years old, and you go, man, that was pretty cool. It also goes through my hands occasionally.
You're doing great. I mean, I'll show that video. I mean, it's not just the sprinting aspect of it that it's great. It's obviously it's hand-eye coordination too. And
Yes,
there are people in their 20s that can't do that stuff, that can't even
yes.
football. I mean, so all right, so wait, so I'm still trying to drill down that 45-minute routine.
Okay.
It's I get that you're trying to warm everything up, but are you going through it sequentially, like ankles, knees, hips, shoulders?
Well, okay, so I can explain it to you a little bit, I think, on this. Uh,
Yep.
I think when we take our workouts and we say, today is leg day, or I'm going to do shoulders and back today, or whatever the sequence is, I think we're making a mistake. That's looking at the body through the left hemisphere of the brain, sequential and all that. I'm more right-brained. I like to see my body as a whole unit. And so I think of myself as, okay, I'm just trying to listen to my body. Where am I a little tight? I might I'll give you a little more information. Then I might lay down flat on my back on a back and just pull my knees into my chest. And then put my knees back and forth across my body. And so I have some bands where I'll do leg work where I put my leg up in the air and stretch my band and work my Achilles and all that. So I'm just trying to work my whole body, get my body ready again to move. And again, not taking the exercise probably as serious as some people. I'm more playful. I want to go out there and play. I want to skip. I'm a big guy in skipping. I skip forwards and backwards. Um, I do a lot of drills that the knees over toes guy gives me. He's on Instagram, he's on YouTube. Ben Patrick, tremendous guy, showing me how to do a lot of exercises, knees over toes, which has really helped me bulletproof my knees. I think he's helped me more than anyone. So I do all these drills to try to maintain myself. And again, I'm trying to get myself into the flow state whereby I think everyone else is trying to lift heavier weights. I'm trying to get my brain to release all these cascade of neurochemicals and growth factors that make me feel so good that I say, hey, I can't wait to get out there and do that again tomorrow. So again, I think
Well,
vitally important that we all warm up ourselves. I was at the gym the other day, and there's a nice lady on one of the cardio pieces, and she gives me the come over here like that. And I came over, and she said to me, "Are you planning on being here tomorrow?" I said, "More than likely, yes." She goes, "Oh, great, because I have this friend I want to bring in to see you. And I've been telling her we have this little tiny guy who bounces all over the field here." I said, "Okay, that's a good way to describe me. A little tiny guy who bounces all over the field." I enjoyed that. Yeah. So any place I go, I get people watching me, asking me what I'm doing, how do I do it, and wanting to emulate that.
yeah, that's why we're here. Yeah, I wasn't suggesting about being reductionist in terms of the movements. I'm exactly the same. I'm not doing bicep curls and tricep push downs. These to me are irrelevant, useless exercises. I'm doing the compound movements, but then also the stuff you mentioned, Ben Patrick and the knees over toes guy. And to be totally honest, I don't think I've ever seen a 75-year-old doing knees over toes and Nordic curls. I see you doing the monkey foot. You do the monkey foot for your hip
I do the
flexors.
monkey feet. They have this new one now where I can do two monkey feet at one time, and I can put up to 45 pounds on that. That's pretty heavy when I'm doing,
Yeah.
trying to raise my legs up and work my hip flexors like that. So I am trying to be grateful to David Weck, who's helped me with the Bozu and a million other different things, to Ben Patrick, to all these people, the guy who makes a sand dune stepper, all these people have helped me. And again, I love buying these things and using them. And, every time I go into work, I carry a whole bunch of new things with me that I want my clients to work out with. And my goal for my clients, I tell them, I want to make you difficult to kill, and that's what it is. Make yourself difficult to kill. And I
Yeah.
think that's a good thing to have.
Yeah, no, you're doing great with that. So it's just going to the hip flexors. So I think most people, most gym-minded people, they don't think about the hip flexors at all. Like they think maybe I'll do squats or I'll do deadlifts. It's the typical gym mindset. And sure, your hip flexors will be stronger than someone who doesn't do any squats or any deadlifts. But it's amazing, just even from a standing position to lift your leg, to lift your leg just like this, 20 times, most people will be fatigued. And it just shows that the hip flexors can be so weak, even in active people. And that might not seem like a big deal when they're 20, 30, 40 years old, but fast forward that to when they're 70. And now the weak hip flexors, even with some regimen of squats and deadlifts, may be harder to get out of a chair, maybe harder to do a lunge. But like I said, showing the videos, you're doing the monkey foot with 30, 40 pounds.
Yeah, that's
And
35 pounds in each foot I'm doing there. One
and
thing
it's
I like to tell people is I use bands quite a bit to help
yeah,
my flexibility. So I'll
yeah,
put a band around my feet, around my ankles, and I'll practice doing my hip flexor exercise, just putting my legs up and down, or simulating like I'm sprinting. And again, it's repetition. So I'll get on this sand dune stepper and I will do high knee when I'm doing that, just warming myself up. So again, I can't emphasize enough the importance of avoiding injuries and getting yourself warmed up. I have nothing to do with uh, uh, these insoles that I wear, but some of the insoles that are available, I use these Victory insoles. They say they make you jump higher and run faster. Well, I haven't found that, but I'll tell you, I've been using them for 10 years and I've not had one injury in 10 years of having that little insole, Victory insoles in my shoe, which has helped me tremendously to avoid injuries. And I think that's a big part of it. Also, can we talk a little bit about eating? Because I think a lot of times, eating is a big factor in your performance. People don't realize it. I enjoy when sometimes some of these rather large men come up to me in the gym and they say, I've been doing 500 sit-ups every day now, but I still can't get rid of this, their stomach. And I say, look, it's all your eating. You have to just eat better, exercise more, and just, you can actually do sit-ups from now to doomsday. It's not going to make any difference. So it's the eating better, not necessarily eating less, but eating better quality food. So what
yeah.
I try
No,
to tell people is if you have the money, buy the best food possible. Go out, spend your money, get the freshest vegetables, the highest quality beef or chicken or whatever you're buying, but spend all your money on your food. And more importantly, prepare all your meals yourself. And if you can do that, I mean, I understand this is a culture where everyone likes to eat out all the time and it's a quick way, but in preparing your own food, that's a way of showing yourself you're important. I'm going to give you the best food possible. And you're going to perform better if you eat high quality food. There's no doubt about that.
100%, John. I agree 100%. It's like a brother from a different mother. Like it's like my mindset. I live that boy. Just going back to the hip flexor stuff, I just wanted to make this as a key point because I think most people don't think about it at all.
Yeah.
When you think about sprinting and like the sprinting pattern, movement pattern during aging, clearly, the Usain Bolts at 100 years old don't exist. And if you look at people that are very old, and not to say you're very old, just they're people older than you, if you look at them in the masters competitions running the sprints, they're barely lifting their legs. I mean, it's almost like a shuffle run rather than a sprint, right? So
Yes.
to highlight that, it's the hip flexors. If the hip
Yes.
flexors are weak, you can't lift your legs, you can't generate power. Most people
Yes.
don't know. I just want to highlight this as a point.
Yes.
So
Let me make a point to you about the
yep,
warm up and all that. So
yep,
I released a video once, and I did it on purpose because I was running up and down the basketball, and I missed the layup. And I want to show people, I'm human. I missed the layup, and so on and so forth. But I got to the gym at 5 a.m. and I didn't have anyone to take my video. So the person at the front desk, before a lot of people come in, I say, hey, can you come and take a video of me? So I did no warm up. I didn't run up and down the court. And I did just what you're saying. I look like I was shuffling my feet, and I got so many negative comments. If this is what growing older looks like, I don't want any of this. But they didn't realize that I didn't warm up. Usually I'll do, 5 or 10 sprints before I'll film something. But on this particular case, I just wanted to show this is what it's like if you don't warm up and as a difference between warming up. So just like when you played sports before, you didn't go right out and just play a football game. You did a whole warm up, maybe 30, 40 minutes of drills and different things like that to warm yourself up before you play. And I think
Yeah,
this is
no, the
something
one.
we forgot, which is I just want to get in the gym, lift heavy, get out, and maybe take something to stimulate growth.
Yeah, no, I hear you on the warm up. It almost sounds like not necessarily a warm up in your case, but it's almost like it's almost like the body and brain even wants to turn itself off. And by you having that 45-minute session, it's like you're turning on your movement patterns. Whereas
Yes.
if you don't, your movement and I don't know if that's an age thing or that's just how you
Well, I think
operate.
it's a neuromuscular thing. You have to get your brain going a little bit. So that's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. When I wear this vest that David Wex has for me, where you hear this jump up and down, that helps me to alert myself that, okay, I am really working hard here and I'm getting myself going. So this is what we have to do is find something that stimulates you to say, I want to do more of this, or I look forward to my Friday morning. It's the only day of the week I get to sprint because I'm working other days, but I look forward to it. So I am training all week with my weights, with all my everything I'm doing, so that I can go out there and have some really good sprints and catch some really good balls and think, okay, that was a great workout. Now, when I get out there, it's very interesting. I have these series, I maybe have some on my videos of these little colorful barriers that I run over, and I'm working on different things. Like at first, I'm working on just the speed that I have, my foot speed. And then I'm working on stride length, which is how long can I stride. So this is what you're saying about older people. They have forgotten the power of stride length, which is the hip flexor. And can we get those hip flexors up while we're running? And so all this is important. I sometimes in this indoor turf field, we have a circle. It's a soccer field, and there's a big circle in the center. And I run on the curve around that circle 2 or 3 times one way, 2 or 3 times around the other way, just working on my hips, doing a different kind of exercise. When I warm up, I do drills. Like let's say I am skipping to the side. So I'm skipping to the right and on a diagonal. Then I'm skipping to the left on a diagonal, maybe 40 yards. And then I sprint the other 60 yards down like that. So I'm trying to make myself move in different directions. Another thing I think people are missing is, and I got this from Ben Patrick, the knees over toes guy, running backwards. I spend a lot of time running backwards, doing my drills backwards. And all of this helps me to fortify my brain and to get my body prepared for the work. And what I'm trying to do is to trick my body and my brain into thinking I'm still young. And if I'm out there sprinting, my body doesn't know how old I am. It just gives me whatever I'm doing. If I'm sitting on the couch, that's what I'm getting. If I'm jumping around and sprinting like a kid, then that's what I get also.
Yeah, no, you're doing a great job of that. So wait, so to the injury point, injury generally happens when you move a joint or ligaments or tendons beyond beyond their range.
Yes,
So you overstretch it, you tear it, right? Or
yes,
someone that hasn't run a marathon, they run a marathon, obviously they're going to feel terrible physically because they're just not chronically adapted to it, right? So
right,
it sounds like your 45-minute routine is relative, it has to be low intensity. You can't maintain a high intensity
right,
workout. And
right.
that, yeah, yeah. So I don't know that it's so much injury prevention as that's your physiological baseline where you're making it harder to get injured because you're giving it that daily stimulus every day. And as you mentioned, it's not just you're in the gym, it's you're doing knees over toe stuff where you're looking to optimize range of motion, strength through a full range of motion for all the joints, knees, ankles, hips, which should minimize your injury risk, right?
Yes. Well, here's something that Ben Patrick just taught me the other day is that when I'm squatting, say I'm squatting on a slant board and I'm using that slant board, and let's say I have a kettlebell, a 30, 40 pound kettlebell, and I'm just squatting back. Well, he was having me squat back and not raise up very much. Just stay down as low as I can and come up a little and go down and up. And this really works my hip flexors. And I noticed just today I felt better with my hip flexors for that. So I'm going to try to incorporate that. So what he's saying is, if I'm using kind of a deadlift thing and I stay low, I don't have to go all the way up and just stay in that down position and just a little up and down and all of this. So I guess as a 75-year-old, I'm still very interested in learning. And so I listen to these young guys and these guys who are studying different things. And, I try to find something interesting to do that challenges myself. And, it's great because, I text Ben Patrick, I'm an old man, and I'm texting to this guy and David Weck and all these other guys, and they respond to me, and I think they get a kick out of what I'm trying to do. And, 75 years old, I still have hoop dreams. I'd love to get out there and still be quick on that court and do something fun.
Well, you say that you stopped playing basketball because of injury risk, but I don't think maybe your ability to get up and down the court, full court 5-on-5, maybe that would be exhausted at some point. Just you can't compete with someone who's or you couldn't. I don't know. I think you could hold your own in the basketball. I mean,
Well, I could hold my own, but some of these guys, they're kind of not very quick and they're trip you and all the kinds of things. So I'd rather
yeah,
not. When you get to my age, I'm trying hard not to injure myself.
yeah.
I work with a trainer. His name is Jeff Fish, who's a famous guy on a lot of professional teams. And I would go to their gym, and it was fantastic because they had an indoor and outdoor turf field, and they had weights, and they had a basketball court all in one. And he used to watch me work out and just marvel at what I'm doing. But he sat me down one day and he said, "You go to the very limit of what you have. You're running up and down, you're playing basketball. And my advice to you is leave something in the tank." So for the last 2 or 3 years, I've been leaving something in the tank, and I think it's helped me like that. Now, as far as rest days, I do my stretching every day, but I do take days off where I'm not lifting weights or whatever. And so that's important to me. The eating. Also, I like to talk a little bit more about the brain, the fact that one thing that's incredible, aging itself is a matter of our brain cells, our neurons dying off. And this is why people forget things, can't remember things, and so on and so forth. Well, the biggest change in neuroscience came when they discovered that we can grow new brain cells, which is a whole nother way of thinking. Before they thought you had a certain number of brain cells, that's it, and there's no replacement parts. So, of course, they started with rats, and rats will run on a running wheel. So if you give a rat a running wheel, it'll run on that thing until it's exhausted like that. And so they look at their rat's brain, and my goodness, they were growing new brain cells. They thought the growth would be in the motor cortex, where you're moving in the motor cortex. But it turns out the growth was in the hippocampus, which is memory and learning. And the hippocampus is the part of the brain that diminishes the most with aging. So in other words, when I sprint, then I will come home and I will read something and memorize it and write it down. And one thing that helps your brain more than anything, I think, is handwriting. I'm always writing things. I have probably, 300 notebooks of different things I've written down for myself. And I'll go over these, to just reinforce it in my brain. So it's a matter of we create new brain cells. But in order for the new brain cells to become part of the communication network, part of the brain, you have to give it an assignment, and it takes about 28 days for these new brain cells to become part of this new network that you're trying to put together for yourself. So I think of it like the new brain cells are like bringing in new workers who don't know anything about my past failures. They just want to get to work and get something done. So that's why I'm always, I think, interested in what's new. I love one advantage for your listeners to being older is when you get on Medicare, you can go. I have access to any health club in the area that I want to go. I live in Plano, Texas. We have, Lifetime Fitness, Cowboy Fit. We have hundreds of gyms here, and I go to all of them. And I just like to see what the trainers are doing, like to see what new equipment they have, like to try out new things. So to me, this is it. Be interested, try to learn new things. Depression is a good definition, is the shrinking from life. So people are depressed, don't go out much. They stay inside. They don't try to do anything different. And so if you want to avoid depression, then don't shrink from life. Look to grow and new brain cells and make new connections with new people and get out and do something with your life.
Yeah, this is great, John. So just to add more context to the neurogenesis, but also neurodegeneration. So the take home from what you're saying is exercise is good for the brain. It's good for neurogenesis, right? That's a big take
That's
home.
the main message is that
But
the brain grows with use and
yep,
diminishes with not
with
use of
disuse,
life.
that's right. Yeah. But where I take it one step further beyond that is we can actually measure biomarkers of not just so the eat real food and exercise. I'm sure you know this is the Jack LaLanne approach, right? Eat real
Yes,
food and exercise. And he
yes,
died at 85, right? So a big part of my approach, the channel's approach, is what's under the hood. Like it's one thing to say eat real food and exercise, but how much food, how much protein, fat, carbs, etc. How do you even come to that conclusion? What do you base that information on to make those recommendations? How much exercise? Like you're a machine, but and unfortunately, mentally, I have the same machine, but physiologically, my body doesn't respond to training every day. I wish I could say that that was the case, but that's just not the case anymore. So I have to do it once every 3 days, 80 minutes per session. All right, but that gets to the idea of exercise prescription, right? But then
yes.
along these lines of neurodegenesis and neurogenesis and neurodegeneration, there are biomarkers in the blood that we can track. So you could have the best workout approach and best diet. And sure, neurodegeneration, the process will happen. There's a constant for neurodegeneration during aging. And even for the most highly fit, most highly active, the best diet, okay, maybe it's not at that standard constant. You flattened it a bit, but how can we truly flatten it so that there is no motor neuron loss? There is no loss of innervation. There is no loss of brain cells. So that's a big part of what I'm after on the channel, not just the neurodegeneration, neurogenesis, but all of the organ systems. So
Well, I'll tell you how I feel about that.
yeah,
Find a subject you're passionate about and don't lose your interest in it. So
yeah,
I was mentioning this the other day. I'm interested in creating a concept of total health. So what do I mean by that? So just on a physiological basis, I mean neurological health, what we're just talking about, the growth of new brain cells. And more importantly, the growth of new brain cells only are effective if you're willing to study and memorize something over and over again, repeat it over and over again. The brain learns through repetition. So it's
yeah,
not just reading something once and going, oh, yeah, that's interesting. It's reading it so that you could send it right back to me. So find something you're passionate about. So I'm interested in this concept of total health. I was telling you the other day, I believe in psychological health, finding what your purpose in life is. There's so many people who have spoken about this. The great writer Viktor Frankl wrote Man's Search for Meaning. This is the important thing. Find meaning in your life. Joseph Campbell, the great mythologist, speaks about going on the hero's journey, finding this path for yourself, unique path. Carl Jung, the great psychologist, talks about individuation. Each person has a unique gift that they can bring to the world. And if you really are connected to that, then everything I'm doing, I'm not trying to be in fabulous shape. I'm trying to keep myself in shape so that I can write a book or discuss this project that I'm talking about. So that's what I mean by psychological health, having a focus in your life, a lifetime goal that you are going to study different dimensions of and make new connections as you go along. And then, of course, there's this emotional health, emotional intelligence, grit, and determination, and overcoming obstacles and failures. Um, this is something that people they give up very easily. They have something they're enthusiastic about. Now, Winston Churchill said that life is going from one failure to the next and not losing your enthusiasm for it. I like that. You have to stick with something and say, okay, I'm going to be determined. So that's why I'm exercising. That's why I'm eating right. That's why I'm studying. That's why I'm sleeping. I'm trying to get the brain power and the physical energy and vitality to stick with this particular subject that I'm very passionate about.
yeah, definitely. That's all great stuff, John. What I was getting at with the neurogenesis and neurodegeneration biomarkers is even with the best approach, even with the most highly motivated athlete, Jack LaLanne, yourself, others, there's going to be a flattening of those rates at best, right?
Yes.
Nobody has Nobody's beaten death as of yet, right? But if you
Yes.
can imagine, if you could discover the recipe, sure, you could say, learn new things and exercise. Yeah, you're going to slow the rate of neurodegeneration. You're going to maximize your ability to make new neurons. But is that as good as it can get? And the only way to know if that's as good as it can get, which is what I try to do, in addition to the exercise and learning new things all the time and writing stuff down and making videos, all those things which are going to be good, should be good for neurogenesis, is I'm tracking biomarkers of that process. And then you could say, well, you're learning new things, your neurogenesis should be optimal, but that's not actually the case in terms of when looking at neurogenesis biomarkers or neurodegeneration biomarkers. So for me, it's what else is under the hood so that we can, because when you think about the 22nd century science, right? It won't just be eat real food and exercise. It'll be what is this personalized approach that has flattened aging completely. And now people like you aren't the exception. It's everybody is 75 and super fit and super mobile.
Yes. Well, if you want to get into that, then there's a source of power that people are not aware of, and it's in the unconscious.
Mm.
If you read someone like Jung or someone like that who talks about the unconscious, he was saying healing occurs when what was previously unconscious becomes conscious. So I have found by doing this, what's called inner work or soul work, that there is a source of energy beyond what we know. I'll give you a little example. Everyone has what Jung called a shadow side. This is the part of us that we want to not even admit we have. It's the part of us that we project onto other people. So one thing that Jung did that was very powerful was ask people, what is it that you find most disagreeable in this person that you feel so strongly about? And uh, and the person would say whatever it is, they're egocentric or they're this or they're that. And he said, well, that's where you have to begin your work on your own shadow because you're just projecting this dark side that you have onto someone else. Okay. Now, in doing your shadow work, which means Jung said that we should never hide our shadow from ourselves, but we should certainly hide it from other people. And so, shadow work for me is I get mad at someone and I want to have some type of action about that. So, I would then go into my private place and just write a little scenario out that I do this or do that. That kind of evens out the dark part of me and the light part of me. It kind of balances me out. Now, the shadow, the repressed part of ourselves, has a tremendous amount of energy in it. So I have, over the past 30 years, done a great deal with the shadow work. And I can tell you that the shadow gives you energy and vitality that you have no idea of how that could stimulate you and help you grow. So I would answer your question by saying it's going to be in the unconscious where this additional source of energy is going to come from. And that's the place we have to find, and that's the work we have to do.
The philosophy of John Ranello. Fantastic.
Yes.
All right. So drilling down to, okay, so we've got the 45-minute session. It's basically a warm up. And then are your weightlifting days set, or is this well, I haven't lifted in a couple of days, I'm going to lift. Like how do you set up the rest of the week in terms of
Well,
activity?
again, it's difficult, because I train 7 people an hour session every day. So that's a
Yeah.
long day. It's 28 people a week that I train. And you're working with those people for a whole hour. And it takes a lot of energy to set up a program for these people, to carry on a conversation with these people, and so on and so forth. And I love it because I really want to help them feel better and get in better shape. But I try to find, like, for example, I might have 45 minutes. I usually take an hour and a half for lunch and I'll eat my lunch and then have 45 minutes. So maybe I do a nice workout in that 45 minutes for myself. And, so I try to find time. I have a garage gym, very well equipped, have everything in there from a sled and I have this sled that I use now that I use on concrete. So instead of pushing my sled on a turf field, which is easier, when you do the concrete, that is a much harder challenge because you have to push the whole time. There's no flow with this kind of thing like that. So I try to find the time and the place to do that. I also, if I have time, try to go out uh, at sunrise as the sun is coming up. And I try to get 10 to 15 minutes of morning sun, not morning sun, but as soon as the sun comes up, on me like that. And I think that helps me a great deal. But again, I think this idea of I have a passionate goal that I want to complete that, and that is a driving force within me. And I mentioned to you, I'm in the process now of writing a few books about this idea, about how I see this idea of energy. And so the interior energy I was talking about, like the shadow and the soul and so on and so forth, that's a big source of energy we're not conscious of. And then, of course, if you can put that in union with the energy of the body and the brain, now we have something. So I think it was Jung who said that our energy is blocked. We're not using the unconscious energy that's flowing into us. It's out of the depths of the unconscious that the energies of life flow into us. And Joseph Campbell used this idea that we're only operating at half flower. He meant we're not utilizing the whole power system. And Buckminster Fuller called the energy of the whole system synergy. So that's what I'm looking at, synergy, the inner energy and the outer energy working in conjunction with each other and seeing if that can motivate me and keep myself functioning at a high level.
The conscious athlete. That's what it sounds like. You're not
The
just
conscious athlete. And also, might I say, also, I do believe that God has given me this mission. So I have this sense of I'm empowered by God. And I like to look at some of the people in the Bible, like, for example, Moses. He was 80 years old when God called him and said, get the Israelis out of Egypt and get them to the promised land. Well, Moses worked for 40 years with these people who were arguing with him and complaining and yelling and screaming, and he never got to the promised land at the end. But the Bible says that Moses was 120 years old when he died, but his eyes were undimmed and his vigor unabated. So he was still motivated at the end because he felt that God had given him direction for his life. And this is a powerful thing to have. If you think that this is being directed by a higher power than yourself, and you have that higher power focusing energy on you to get you to where you want to go, I think that's a powerful tool.
so I look at that. I agree. The first things that come to my mind there are, why did Moses die at 120? What was the cause of death? And then two, what did his creator have that he didn't impart to Moses? And if I'm Moses, how can I learn from that creator to extend my lifespan and my health span and my vitality to be as long as that long-lived God?
Yeah. Well, sometimes you can have a goal that you're going for. I like what Joseph Campbell says. Sometimes you go through all this inner work and you get to where you want to go, and people aren't ready to receive it. So he says the gold that you were bringing back turns into ashes. He says that's okay too. It's not so much the end, it's the journey. It's being on the path and being motivated the whole time and trying to get people excited about, each of us has a specific goal in mind that we have to have. And so having that, I think, is a big motivation for a lot of people, and what keeps them really going.
Yeah. So I think when you're saying that some people can't hear the message or don't get the message, well, that's in the small scale. Because of the internet and the World Wide Web, literally the World Wide Web, your message may not resonate within a small group locally, but resonate with a much larger group globally, you know.
Yes.
So that's the beauty of the world we live in now. All right, so I'm still trying to drill down on the routine, because you're a machine. Like, I worked as a fitness trainer. I'm highly motivated. I'm not, I've never been a lazy person. And I think at my peak, I was training 20 clients a week, 20 hours a week. And it's exhausting. I mean, you're not just, it's not just the talking and pointing, hey, pick up the 20-pound weights. You're picking up the weights and bringing it to them. So,
Yes.
so it's almost like
Yes.
you're doing 7-hour workouts a day.
Yes.
I
Yes.
could, I couldn't do it. I got my brain back into school, and so now I'm on the nerd stuff and training myself. But so you're a machine. 28 clients at 75 at any age. You're a machine in addition to your own workouts. So my question is then, I guess it sounds like you're kind of winging it in the routine. You're kind of just doing what you feel like doing, but you're committed to every day, in addition to the 45 minutes, doing stuff to really challenge yourself physically, neuromuscularly. Just is that the way is that
Yes.
accurate?
Yes. And again, it's having this idea that I want to really bring forth this idea of total health that I'm speaking about. I feel it's my mission to do that, and I am committed to doing it. And therefore, it's not hard for me. I love making my own food. I think of it like a sacrament. I am preparing this food for myself, and I have this sense of I have a life of prayer, and I have this connection, I think, with God. And so a beautiful idea comes from this man named Houston Smith, who wrote this great book called The Religions of the World, where he gives a beautiful summation of all the religions of the world. It's really quite profound and beautiful. And he gives this little analogy that God, on his side of the realm, has this beautiful tapestry where he's mending and weaving all of our lives together. And you and I meeting now is part of his plan of doing that. So from God's side, he sees this beautiful tapestry. Everything is perfect and everything's running along schedule. But on our side of the tapestry, we see these little, just nothing that makes sense, knots and little, see? So the idea is to try to see the world from the other side of the tapestry, where thinking of yourself, this is meant to be. You were meant to contact me, and I am meant to train the clients that I have. And it's beautiful. And then you accept everything from the terrible things that happen to you to the beautiful things that happen to you. And you just are, grateful for life itself. Every morning I get up and I get on my hands and knees and thank God for giving me just another day to live in this world. And I think a lot of young people are a little bit down on life. We're living during the greatest time ever. This is the greatest time where we can share ideas and look at what other people are doing and really have a tremendous future, I think, in front of us.
Definitely. All right, wait. So going back to the workouts, I know it's like I'm still
Yeah,
trying to
it's
drill
okay.
because I don't want, not only am I interested, but I want to make sure we've really, squeeze the orange so that people could say, all right, this is exactly what he's doing. Because again, you're like a machine. At any age, you'd be like a machine. So in terms of from my experience, in the kind of wing it approach where so I think most people, if there isn't structure, they fall off the structure. You know what I mean? Whereas you're different in that you have your base structure of that 45-minute flexibility every day, mobility work. But then the other stuff, the weights and everything else, if that's not structured, at least in my perspective, it's very easy to say, I'll just do it the next day or the next day. But it's you've avoided that. So my question is from my experience, it's like if I'm not structuring the big workouts, it's hard to measure progress over time, whether that's, overhead press strength or how many pull-ups can you do, or you know what I mean? Because if you're always changing up the routine, when you go back to the original routine, it's like there's the new learning aspect because you haven't done it in a while. And then it's, all right, have you regressed or is it just you're delayed a little bit because you've been training other ways? So how do you think about always changing it up and keeping it fresh versus some amount of standardization of the approach to make sure you're actually making progress over time in terms of strength and mobility and power and all these things versus, just having an overall good general fitness?
Yeah. Well, I think for myself, I'm trying to maintain a certain level of strength, for example. I want to be able to bench press my body weight. As long as I can do that, I feel that my strength is staying pretty stationary like that. Or I try to squat my body weight or deadlift my body weight. So I'm using my body weight, which I don't weigh very much. I weigh 136. So the 135 pounds is the standard for me to do, 245s on a bar, 135 pounds. So it's easy for me to measure that type of thing. But, I am focused on maintaining my strength again and improving my flexibility. And I think to answer your question, the easiest way to look at what I'm doing is I think many people are training for strength. They're just looking at, am I getting stronger? Am I getting bigger? Am I taking something to supplement this and make myself get bigger? Okay, I'm not thinking of that. I'm training for power. And the formula for power is force times distance divided by time. So force is the strength that I gain in the weight room. So I'm trying to maintain my strength in the weight room by doing different, I do dumbbells, barbells, I do the standard exercises pretty much in there. Okay. Now, distance is flexibility. So range of motion. So how flexible am I? So take you gave the example of Usain Bolt, the great sprinter. He's 6'5". His range of motion on his stride length is somewhere between 8 and 9 feet per stride. My stride length is 5 to 6 feet per stride. So who do you think is going to win that race? He's going to win because his stride length, his range of motion is much greater than mine is. Okay, the third part is distance, which is how fast am I from point A to point B? So that's why I do a lot of speed work. I jump rope fast. I work on my speed from one thing to the next. I do lateral movements. I do diagonal movements and things like that. I'm working on speed. So this is where we're missing it. Most people are just working on strength. Now, some people doing yoga, they're working on range of motion. And some people are working on speed. They want to go fast. I think we must train all three of those components, strength, flexibility, and speed, with equal importance. And I
Yeah.
think there's very few people who are doing that because it's time consuming. And so, for example, I'm lifting weights, doing my bench. And after I get done my bench, instead of just sitting around waiting 2 minutes or 3 minutes for me to do the next set, I'm jumping rope or I'm doing some type of exercise in between that. I might be doing back lunge with some weights, or I'm trying to do. So I like to do a routine where I'm doing an upper body, I'm doing my bench press, but then maybe I'm practicing lunges after I do that. So I try to do an upper body, lower body, upper body, lower body like that. So I'm not getting bigger, but I'm not losing any strength either. So that's what's important to me. And I realize, Michael, to be honest with you, obviously at some point I'm not going to be able to run out and sprint and catch a football. I mean, I do realize that, but as long as I can do it, I am going to do it, and
Wait, so you say, all right, so wait, you say at some point you won't be able to, but so this goes back to the what's under the hood, right?
right.
If you know your biomarkers of kidney, liver, immune, red blood cells, all the major organ systems are as youthful as you are physically, why can't you push this out indefinitely? And
Well, again, I don't know that for a fact, but I'm just saying at some point, possibly, I don't know. Again, I'm not doing any of this to live any particular long length of time. I'm doing it because I want to feel my best and I want to give of myself the best that I can. So, I mean, you talk to the 28 people I train, and they'll tell you over and over again. I'm always talking to them about these different components of fitness. I'm talking about their neurological health and their psycho and so on and so forth. So that gives me a whole audience of people to talk to. And what I find very encouraging, for someone like myself, I train 28 people a week, but I have over 35 people waiting for an hour to train with me on a waiting list, you might say. And even though I tell them, let me give you to another trainer, they go, no, no, we'll just wait until you're available. So that's encouraging for me to have that kind
you're
of response. And
you're
also, I'm an older, and I get these little comments from people on Facebook or on Instagram or whatever, and so encouraging. I'm 25 years old. I'm so inspired by what you're doing. I would really love to, figure this out how you're doing it. But it's very encouraging to me. But ultimately, what I would like to do would be able to go to different cities and do 3 or 4 day seminars where I can show people 3 or 4 days of this is the routine I'm doing. And you can film me doing this and copy it for yourself and go home. And this is how I'm eating. And maybe go to the grocery store and this is how I shop. And I'm not immune. I don't have good willpower. If you put ice cream in the freezer, I'm eating it. I just don't buy it. You see, and that's the whole thing. I used to buy this great bread at Whole Foods, this muesli bread with nuts and raisins and all, and it's like $8 a thing. And I'd make a toast and I'd feel terrible after eating it. So finally, I throw the bread out. And finally, I just told myself, don't go by that damn bakery. Just don't go over there. So, if you're in the grocery store, I never go up and down the aisles that have the freezers with the ice cream and all that. And I just stay, in the aisles that have what I want.
Yeah, we'll drill down into diet for sure. But so still going back to the power, force times distance with the variable you left out was
Divided by time, divided by
time.
time.
Time, yeah. So time, the time aspect that I want to highlight is, so with my workouts, and I know what works for me, I'm actually thinking about power too. Force times distance divided by time. So as you mentioned, the force is how much weight that you're lifting. Assuming so, let's just say the bench press, the distance is going to be the same, but even for the knees over toes, you're looking for maximal range of motion. That's your
Yes,
distance.
yes,
But time, that time aspect is huge, especially during aging, because if your workouts are standardized, meaning you do the same movements, pretty much the same amount of reps, some amount of increased weight. So, you're not going to go from 180, 45 pound or 135 pound bench press to 185 pound that next session. It's going to be within a normal range, right?
right,
So the time aspect, though, if you've got sets, reps, volume, and it takes you 10 minutes longer to complete that workout than it did 15 years ago, well, that's aging, right? So
right.
I try to aim for that 80-minute hard out. I've gotten all of my work done that that's on my standardization sheet, that's in my mind. So I think that's a key variable too, where, people might be, like you're saying, your workouts are basically circuit training based, right? You're doing upper
Right.
body, you're not sitting around, and I'm the same exact way. I'd rather not be gigantic muscular guy and just do one set and wait 5 minutes than do a set, do something for the legs, do something for the lower back, do something for the abs, go back to the chest, go back to the upper back, right? So it's a whole body workout over a long period of time, and it's a cardiovascular stimulus when you do it like that too. But the
Yes.
key variable I wanted to highlight there is that time component, like making sure that your workouts, and I'm sure you're doing a great job of this, that you're getting exactly the same amount or a little bit more year after year after year in that same window of time. Because if it takes you longer to do the workouts, it's a little bit worse. If you're getting it done
Yeah.
faster, even better.
Well, one thing about speed is sometimes, of course, I'll lower the weight down. Let's say we're doing bench, and I'll try to lift the bar faster. I'll try to do quicker, and this is it. So, another thing I do a lot that I didn't mention to you too much are complex motor skills. Different things where I take balls in my hand and make them go one way or another way. I juggle balls. I have these three blocks that I put together and do different kind of catching drills with these things. And I have this, I don't know if you know what speed cups are. They're these little cups that I do real quick. And so what I've done is I've learned to become ambidextrous. Now, one thing we want to do is become ambidextrous. We want to be able to use both hands, both feet, and use both hemispheres of the brain. So with the cup stacking, I used to stack one cup at a time and another stack. But now I'm doing two stacks at the same time. So I'm using both hands in conjunction with each other, you see? And that's another metaphor for me using this unconscious energy system with my conscious energy system, just trying to realize there are two energy systems that I can draw from. And that's what's giving me the motivation to continue doing this. So the speed work, I think, is the one thing people miss the most. And I have where I work kind of a long place where people can do different kind of drills, skipping. And all the time, I'm having my people skipping and jumping and doing speed work. And the other people who are training will come up to me and say, I wish, I could do that, and they realize they're missing something there in this speed. And as we get older, obviously the brain processing speed is slowing down. And I have found by my doing my speed work and my complex motor skills that I can stay pretty quick and stay on the job pretty well. As you know, it's not so easy training people all day long. And I just stay there. I do 4 people in a row, 4 hours in a row. I have my lunch, I stay there, and then I have 3 people in the afternoon, whereby most of the trainers have a couple of people they do in the morning, they go home during the day, and they come back at night. I just stay there all day long, make my lunch, eat my lunch there, and I don't leave until I'm done.
Yeah, no, you're a machine. So wait, so just going back to the juggling balls and the it's basically proprioceptive training, but
Yes,
that's great. That's great for overall like brain health, right? Because you're challenging your brain from a different perspective. I mean, if you're just going through life and you never do that stuff, you're never going to develop those interneuronal connections, which is good for brain health. But I like to think of it as what proprioceptive training can you do that would be good for the aging older adult. Like, for example, falls, are a big thing. And granted, I'm sure your bone density is great, way above the average for your age or any age. But, the classical story is someone older will fall, they'll lose balance, they'll fall, they'll break a hip, they're immobile. That's it. They're on the road to death. So,
Yes.
but in terms of the proprioceptive training, and I see you doing the knees over toes stuff, but how much stuff are you doing, like single leg work, balance work, where you're on the stability ball, really trying to make sure you got the hip stabilizers, the abductors and the adductors, so that, because the proprioceptive training is great, but if there's ever a time, and granted you're in Dallas, so the snow won't be a big deal, or ice, where you just slip for no reason. But for example, I do some Taekwondo kicks because they're fun and you're getting rotational movement. Most people are not training rotational movement. My floors, the vinyl floors, I slipped. And
Mm.
actually, I fell and I landed, I don't want to say I have cat-like reflexes, but I I kind of did it like the old wrestling style where I fell on the flat of my elbow intentionally, because if I'm putting down a wrist, maybe I break my wrist, right? So uh, I didn't expect to slip from over trying to do the kick, but these things can happen. So I think, what are your thoughts on like preparing for the worst case scenario balance wise, so that if you do have some kind of thing like that, even though the proprioceptive training is great, because you've been doing so much balance and stability, and maybe you're already doing balance and postural work like that. I don't know. You tell me.
I do. And I do a lot of single leg stuff, leg extension, leg curl, single leg. I do a lot of back lunge and all kinds of things. But I think footwork is something we're not paying much attention to as far as balance is concerned. Now, a lot of times when people trip, they're moving. They're not just standing still and falling down, right? So I think a lot of it has to do with footwork. So I take people and have them do, the grapevine, the exercise where they're moving their feet in different directions. I have a lot of work on a agility ladder where I'm making people do different footwork like that and speed work on their feet. And over a period of time, they get tremendous sense I can balance myself. Or I'll take just a simple couple of cones, 4 or 5 cones in a row, and have them make a complete circle around the cone one way, and then they go up to the next cone and do circle around the other way. Well, if you can do that footwork where you're going a 360-degree turn like that without falling down, that's darn good balance. So I think that is the way. I don't think standing on one foot and brushing your teeth like they're talking about or some of that is that helpful, because again, we're never stationary when we fall. We're moving in one way or other. So the more flexibility you can get in your feet, and the more you can move your feet with coordination and realize, hey, even if I'm off angle a little bit, I can hold myself there. And again, we haven't talked too much about core strength. I'm huge on core strength. And I think a lot of people are confused about core strength. But to me, core strength involves the glutes, the back, the transversus abdominis, and the hips. So when I'm training people and they're standing there and I'm just working their upper back, they're pulling back, I'm having them squeeze their glutes, tighten their back, pull the navel into the spine. And doing all that is going to help your balance tremendously if you can do that all the time. I worked one time with this really good ballet dancer, and she showed me how, as she walks, she is tightening her glutes every time that she is walking, and she is so focused on that core, and that gives her that ability to stand on that one leg like she can do and all that. So this is something we all need to work on. The problem, I think, is people don't realize how much work it entails to be in good shape. They think, oh, I'll go to the gym and I'll, get on the treadmill and I'll do 20 minutes of, light walking and all of that, and maybe lift a few light weights and then I'm done. Well, that's not going to really do it for you. If you want to, especially the young people who are watching this, if you're athletic right now and you can sprint and you lift weights and you can do everything right now, why stop doing that? Just keep doing it and don't stop. Now, I realize you get busy, you have a family, you have a job, and so on, but you can make some time to do it. Get up earlier and get out there and another big thing people miss is having that workout partner. Like I told you, I train with these two 50-year-old guys, and I know they're going to be there, and I'm not going to sleep in. I'm up and I'm ready to go. It's a little frustrating because they can get down there and do just a little warm up and be ready to go, whereby it takes me probably a good hour or maybe hour and 15 minutes to get myself warmed up and ready to go.
Would you say that balance is so even for the person who's only in the gym 20 minutes a day, that's better than nothing. But
Better
you
than
know,
nothing.
the things like balance and core strength, I get it. But would you say that probably balance training and flexibility, mobility is probably the most neglected, underrated, underutilized aspect of fitness? I mean, most people are just on the treadmill and lifting weights and forget about all those things that I mentioned.
No doubt. That is the weakness. And we see it all the time. And as more and more people start to realize that once they fall down and break their hip, then it's not a good situation to be in. So I'm trying to, like I'm telling you, tell my clients, we have to make you difficult to kill. You have to be able to sustain yourself and not get injured. Uh, I've trained for a long, long time. And I can honestly say I've never had anyone get injured doing what we're doing in our workouts. So I spend a lot of time preparing people not to get injured. And again, when we're older, you have to warm your body up. We're somewhat like the Tin Man on the Wizard of Oz, stiff, and you need to oil this and oil that and get yourself loosened up before you actually start going. I just had one of my clients, she told me she was at a concert and just started dancing and she threw her knee out. Well, you probably have to prepare before you're dancing nowadays. You have to prepare for everything.
Or she hadn't gone dancing in a long time and thought,
Yes, yes,
yeah,
yes,
yeah,
yes,
yeah. So you got to keep at it so that you don't lose
yes.
it. So
You
that,
understand. The
yeah.
repetition again, the repetition, the learning, the staying with it. I think most people they get out of school and they say that's the end of studying for me. I'm not going to study anything anymore. And this is a big, big mistake. So that's what I'm saying. If you can find something you're passionate about and something that really motivates you, and then try to build on that. This is the idea of the brain cells grow like little branches. So the more that you can learn new different things on the subject you're interested in. So I'm always, like I'm saying, reading books about brain health and books about things that I'm very interested in. And uh, this whole idea of grit and determination really interests me. Have you read the book, The Marshmallow Test? Have you heard that book?
Mm.
It's a very good book. It's the psychiatrist did this thing with children at Stanford University. The staff had their children come and they were doing this experiment with them. They were 6, 7, 8 year olds. And the teacher got in there and said, children, we have a bunch of treats here for you. They called it the marshmallow test. One was a marshmallow, one was a candy, whatever they wanted. And they told the children, well, you could eat the candy right now or the marshmallow right now. Or if you wait until the teacher comes back in, he's going to go out for a while, come back in, we'll give you two marshmallows or two candies. Okay. So the children, when he left, about half of them just ate their treat immediately. And the other ones waited. And the teacher took a long time, like 25 minutes before they came back, but they waited. And then they followed these children in a study, and it's what you think. The children who had no grit and the ability to say no, they didn't do as well in life as the children who learned to persevere and to stick with it. So this great woman, Angela Duckworth, did studies on guys who were at West Point, and they gave them these grit studies, and they could determine who was going to graduate from West Point and who was going to drop out. And so grit is something people think you're born with, but I'll tell you, it's something you can develop and work on and be able to sustain yourself and stick with things and stay with it. And I think a lot of giving up has to do with diminishment of the brain. As the hippocampus starts losing brain cells, this is our ability to memorize things and learn, then we kind of drop out of life a little bit. So the brain cells are retreating back, dying, and we're mimicking that. We're staying at home. We're not going out and driving. One piece of advice I like to give people is don't hang out with people older than you because you're gonna start mimicking what they're doing. Hang out with people who are younger than you. My younger friends, they go out at night, they do things, they're engaged in life, and that's one of the key things I think as we get older is to stay engaged, learn new things, be optimistic about life, have a good attitude about everything, and just accept what is for right now.
Yeah, you've got a lot of grit. So, and that's great. So, were you always like this? I mean, or has this been an evolution over time? And then even your workouts, has that always like what your workout approach is now? Is that always like that, even when you were younger? Or
I
has
would
that been?
say not. I mean, I've always been interested in exercise. Even when I was a little kid, I'd be always out running and jumping over hedges and doing things like that. But initially, I lived in San Diego, and I would run on the beach. I was a runner, and I'd run 10Ks and run good times, when I was younger. Spend a lot of time doing lots of cardiovascular stuff, 90 minutes on a Stairmaster or something like that. And lifting heavier weights than probably what I'm lifting now. So yes, I have gone back. As I said, instead of doing so much long-term cardio, 30, 40, 50 minutes on I've kind of skipped to doing more high-intensity interval training. So jumping rope, maybe doing 100, 150 jumps at a time or something like that. And uh, maybe on my bike or something like that, just doing hard push for 90 seconds. So you know yourself, different types of energy systems that we have. We have, of course, the cardiovascular energy system, which is exercise for more than 2 minutes. But I'm trying to do the more anaerobic work where I'm doing, let's say, from 30 seconds on to up to 2 minutes, hard as I can. Or I might do short term, just sprint, hard as I can, less than 10 seconds, and try to work those energy systems like that.
So that came from reading about exercise physiology. Or how did
Yeah,
that?
yeah, I think so. I think there's a lot of here in Dallas, we have Dr. Kenneth Cooper, who started the whole idea of aerobics and so on and so forth. But I think even Dr. Cooper now has realized that weight training may be more important than cardiovascular exercise. He sees all these older runners now who are very frail and very, not very hard. And you look at the sprinters are more muscular, bigger legs. The long distance runners are more, frailer and not as built as the other people are. So I think just based on that and a lot of studies on the real benefit of doing high intensity interval training has really helped me a lot.
Yeah, it's not just that. It's if you're only doing that cardiovascular stuff for hours on end, it can actually be too much
Yes,
overuse, left ventricular hypertrophy, and that's bad for the heart, right? Whereas if
that's right.
you're distributing that like through compound movements and a circuit training based approach, whether it's your 90-minute approach or my 80-minute approach, where I'm literally doing everything, but I'm only doing really 2 work sets per exercise. Bench press, 2 work sets, a very light warm up, 2 work sets, overhead
Yeah,
press, 2 work sets. But with everything, it's 80 minutes. I'm getting that potent cardiovascular stimulus as if I was running for 80 minutes, which
yes,
would be,
very true.
10-mile run. But the wear and tear is infinitely less because it's distributed everywhere as opposed to just on the ankles, knees, and the hips. So,
You're right. That's why I have stopped doing, the long distance cardio. But I also like to do hit the heavy bag. I have a lot of gyms where I go where I bring my boxing gloves, hit the heavy bag, which is a great workout in and of itself. And so, again, vary it around, have fun. I try to tell myself, when I was a kid, I had a garage gym, just like I have now. I have a punching bag in there. I had different things. So I'm boxing. I'm playing basketball. I'm playing football. I play baseball. I do pickleball. And so I'm trying to think of what did I do when I was 10 years old that I'm not doing now. I'm doing the same exact thing because I see exercise as fun and playful and something that I enjoy. I think people dread, like for example, they dread leg day. Well, as I tell people, every day is leg day to me. I do legs every day. I don't have a specific leg day. See, so I don't want to dread the exercise or not look forward to exercise. I want to look forward to it and get
yeah,
myself out there. And
yeah, no, so I've seen you catch a football. I've seen you run, the 20, 30 yards and catch a football. You're doing great there. I've seen you dribble a basketball. I'm not trying to say Steph Curry, and people are going to come at me in the comments and be like, your dribbling is not Steph Curry, but your dribbling is pretty damn good. You're better at dribbling. I was never a good dribbler, but mediocre basketball player at best. Your basketball skills, dribbling skills are very good for of any age. And then I've seen you swing a baseball bat too in your videos, and it's pretty good. It's pretty, and
yeah,
I played all these sports. It's not like I don't know what I'm looking at. It's pretty good. I mean, there's no old movement pattern. The only thing I would ask is I've seen you punching, and I like the boxing. Boxing is great, but we're now in a different world of combat fighting. So why
Yes.
not, throw some kicks and maybe some
Yes,
jujitsu?
I'd like to try. I'd like to learn how to do that. That would be something interesting for me. I mean, I get a lot of people telling me I should be doing martial arts and all this kind of thing, and MMA fighting and all this kind of thing. And yeah, that interests me. So if I could ever find someone who is willing to help me learn to do that, I'd probably be open to learning that. But I think this is a big thing as we get older, to be open to learning new things, uh, not getting discouraged when something happens or it's difficult for you to do. And just best we can, trying to stay in the game of life and trying not to give up. That's what I'm saying. You know, when people get depressed, they just opt out of life. And I see it all the time. And for me, I'm going to try to work as long as I possibly can. I know it is strenuous for me to work. I understand that, but I look forward to it every day. I can't wait to get there. I have people that are depending on me, and I've had same clients now for over 20 years that have trained with me twice a week, some of them 3 times a week for 20 years. That's a long relationship to have with someone.
Yeah. So, are there, I mean, granted, you're a machine, but are there days where you feel less motivated than usual? I mean, how,
Sure. I mean, there are times when, I'll just say, I just need to take a day off and I'll take a day off. I listen to my body and, you know, I don't want to burn myself out. Let's put it that way. I just work now Monday to Thursday. I take off Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So those 3 days off help me tremendously. And there may be a time when I take 4 days off and I work Tuesday, Thursday, and Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Sometimes I work 3 days a week. But I intend to keep working, for as long as I possibly can. Because I see it in the clients who I train, a lot of lawyers I train who stay in law and they are still sharp and still on the job all the time. They could be in their 90s. But I see guys retire 60 and are excited at first, but then pretty bored and trying to figure out what the heck to do with themselves. And let me say this: if anyone listening here would like a second career as a trainer, I think it's one of the greatest things to do. My business is called Baby Boomer Personal Training. That's who I train, basically, baby boomers. I train a lot of kids also, but I think it's a tremendous second career for people. If you're like working out and you've had a nice job and you've made good money, and you just want an opportunity to work with people and have fun and just be in the gym. And people in the gym are positive, uh, really looking forward to doing well and stuff like that. So I think it's a tremendous way to have a second career. And if anyone wants to contact me, I'd be very happy to give you any advice I could or any direction that might help you start a career like this because it's a good way to make money.
definitely. All right. So it sounds like you do take rest days, but even outside of rest days, I mean, like, most people may feel a little bit of despair or have some depression, but I'm guessing for you, you recognize it quickly, figure out what you can do to change it, accept it if you can't change it, or work towards something so that you could change it, where those moments of despair or depression don't weigh you down. They're actually learning experiences, or how
Well,
can you?
yes, I think, again, I don't want to keep harping on my belief in God, but I think belief in God gives you a way of overcoming despair that you realize. Do you know what the term transference means? Transference is the inner urge to merge yourself with a power figure. And this great writer, Ernest Becker, says that no one is immune from transference. We all inwardly have an unconscious urge to merge yourself with a power figure. Now, the person who founded the state of Pennsylvania, William Penn, said that if men refuse to be governed by God, they will be ruled by tyrants. And just look around today. Just about every country has a power figure, a male, kind of tyrant, some of them. And that's who's ruling us and dictating what's going on in life like that. So to me, even if God is just imaginary in my world, it gives me something to look to and something to connect with that gives me this idea of not giving up and sustaining myself. And I think that's a very important thing. And I think the whole idea of God and the soul have been diminished by science. But I think science now is starting to see my goodness, we have this James Webb telescope and we're looking back in time and there was no Big Bang. These worlds are really fully formed back then. So now it's we're rejoining the ancients who used to look at the beautiful sky and say, there must be something up there greater than us. And I think the Hubble telescope and the James Webb telescope are giving us that same thing. There must be something up there greater than we are. And I think this is important for us to not have this egocentricity that we think the world revolves around us. It's better to dedicate yourself to something greater than yourself.
So that as you were talking about that, that's an interesting concept because when you talk about if you have moments of despair, depression, and because you're one with God, and then you're basically saying, well, this is part of the plan, everything will be fine, right? And as you were saying that, all I could think was, I'm not a puppet. And then the other part of me, whether that's from inside my brain or outside, right? Because if you give yourself up to some higher power, and I'm not calling you a puppet, I would feel like a puppet. The other side of that is that God, if there is a real connection with that external force, that God may have just put the idea in my head to say that, okay, you don't want to be a puppet. Your life's going to be harder. It's gonna feel harder. You're gonna have moments where all the things that go with it, right? So it's an interesting choice where if you give yourself up, now are you following some predetermined path that you really don't, you're just kind of on autopilot in the car's driving for you, where I don't kind of like that, but there are benefits to it. But the other side of it is, man, I don't want to be a puppet. But the other side of that is it's harder to drive the car by yourself than it is to let the car drive for you, right? So,
Well, one thing that might help you is to look at some of the really great thinkers of the world, like Sigmund Freud.
mm,
Freud felt that the thing he hated most was people who felt that they were needy and need someone to take care of them and all of that. So he didn't want that. So he never was able to open up to an idea of God. He felt this was a very negative thing that, like you're saying, like we're almost like puppets and stuff like that. But Otto Rank, who was one of his proteges, said that no, God is the ability to expand yourself and to grow more and to be greater than you think you are. So if you're just by yourself, I think anyone can see it's pretty hard, to make it just on your own. But having this sense of it's not that God is controlling my life like I'm a puppet, but God is inspiring my life to do something better for myself, to try to help more people. So a lot of times, the young people come to me and they go, I want to get rid of my ego. And I tell them, listen, we all need a strong ego. And a person with a strong ego says, I am fully one, but no more than one. Okay. What we have to get rid of is egocentricity. Egocentricity says the world revolves around me and I have to have my needs met immediately and no one's more important than I am. So we have to dethrone our egocentricity. And I think it's important to have, for me, to have someone that I am dedicating my life to than just my own egocentricity. I'm trying to do something where Joseph Campbell says the hero is the one who dedicates their life to something greater than themselves. And if we can do that, then you have this proper idea of I'm not the center of the world. I am here to help other people, and I'm here to have compassion and to love people. And to love means to will their good. So I love my clients because I'm willing their good. I'm trying to do everything I can to help them eat better, exercise more, feel better about themselves, and have more focus in their life.
yeah. So I'm not opposed to the idea that some God or governing force, whatever it may be, whichever religion is actually the right one. I'm not opposed to that idea. So, and I wouldn't say I'm completely disconnected in that sense, but for me, it's almost, because I know we talked about this a little bit yesterday, it's like we can perceive a very small segment of reality. And it's like, we can't hear at certain frequencies, we can't see at certain frequencies, right? These are just scientific facts. So for me, it's almost like, what is the full nature of reality beyond our perception? And does that involve a God? Does that involve some geometric realm of mathematical concepts that we can't perceive in a the normal situation? And that's what is actually God. God is just a group of
Well,
mathematical.
I think we have to use our creative imagination, that it's much greater than we can even imagine. So we have to somehow or other kind of understand it with our small
Right.
ability to understand. So I see God as a form of energy that's pouring into me, this inexhaustible energy. As
Yeah.
long as I follow this path that I'm telling you about, trying to bring forth this idea of total health, I feel I am being energized by God. This is this unconscious energy I'm always talking to you about.
Yeah.
Now, that would give me a big advantage, I feel, over a person who doesn't have that inexhaustible energy flowing into them. Do you see what I'm saying? So all of this, to me is important for our health. And I think, you may like to read this book called The Denial of Death by Ernest Becker. It won the Pulitzer Prize, but it's the least read Pulitzer Prize book in the world because he's speaking about death. Now, Ernest Becker was Jewish, but he was an atheist. He didn't believe in God. But in writing this book and looking at everything, he said the only way to cope with life is the old-fashioned way to believe in God, even though he felt God was just a illusion. That's something we have to create in our mind. But that's okay. Whether it's an illusion or a reality, it doesn't matter as long as it gives us a sense of purpose and a sense of direction that we can follow. Now, we have a free will. We're not a puppet. We don't have to follow that. We can say no. I'll tell you, when I was younger, I was 42 years old. I was living in San Diego with my girlfriend of 20 years. We had the greatest life. I ran on the beach every day, played tennis every day, lived in a beautiful complex. I mean, I was set. I had an enormous midlife crisis where I lost everything I valued, my money, my wife, my everything I valued. And I had to look at myself and change direction. That was my egocentricity saying, well, I just want to run on the beach all day. I don't want to help anyone else. I want to play tennis. I want to do this. I want to do that. So I would say then that God interfered in that life and took everything away from me so that I would then have to have what Jung called a metanoia, a total turnaround in my approach to life. And then I realized I have to start all over again, just like I was a kid again. And I had to become humble, had to become grounded, and had to really realize I'm here to serve other people. And that's it. And,
Yeah.
I was raised a Catholic, went to Catholic grammar school and high school. And I remember in my catechism, which each child had to learn, the first question, why did God make me? And the answer, God made me to know him, to love him, and to serve him in this world, and to be happy with him in heaven. So to me, this is heaven right now. When I serve God, this is heaven. I'm trying to do the best I can and, realize I can get this energy flow because I am following the will of God.
Yeah. No, you're doing great, John. All right. So, all right. Diet. How about that? You're doing great. I wouldn't argue with anything you're saying. So, and it works for you, so,
Well,
um,
Michael, it's almost 5 o'clock. Why don't we go ahead and try to wrap this up? Did you have more
I
ideas?
was going to go through your diet and sleep and then supplements and all of the other, I don't know, maybe set it up for a different time, or I know you've got plenty of clients. So,
Yeah, well,
maybe we,
we've been going for an hour and a half. I mean, we could do this again if you like. And
yeah.
basically, I'll tell you, I take no medications. I take a multiple vitamin. I take no other supplements at all. I eat whole food. Like, for example, I eat a big breakfast. I'll have perhaps a steak and a cheese omelet with some type of nice vegetable like asparagus or broccoli or some of that. And I'll have an avocado and cottage cheese. I have a huge breakfast. And for lunch, I'll have like a baked chicken breast with a huge salad like that. For dinner, usually every week I make a nice big soup for myself, like a lentil soup or chicken soup or who knows what kind of soup. And I'll eat that soup for dinner. And I don't eat in between meals and stuff like that. I usually eat around 5 or 5:30 and don't eat anything else for the rest of the night. I drink water. Um, that so I change my diet around quite a bit, but I eat basically just whole foods. And as I say, I buy the best food possible. I try to get at least 8 hours sleep every night. Now, I think because I work hard and I exercise hard, I sleep pretty much. Maybe I'll get up and have to go to the bathroom once or twice during the night, but I don't have any problem with that. And so I think working sleeping, eating right, studying, staying on the path, trying to expand my knowledge and to share. And I want to expand my knowledge to share it with as many people as I possibly can. And uh, um, as far as any other thing I do, I don't take TRT. People ask me all the time, am I taking supplements or hormones or anything like that? No, it's the endogenous reward system, the brain and my soul giving me this energy and vitality to continue on.
Blood testing?
Blood testing, my blood turns out great all the time. My testosterone levels are high. Uh, I have no problem. I only go to my doctor for a physical once a year. She always tells me everything looks great.
Is it
And
possible to get your blood? Do you have blood test results from your doctor? And if
yeah,
you do,
I do. I do.
do you have that like for years, going back years? Because I mean that's a big part of what I do is optimizing blood and other biomarkers. And if you've got data for 20 years, I could take a look at your data and then see if you're resisting age-related change in kidney function or liver function, right? Because aging is a biochemical process,
Right.
and if
No, I understand totally.
yeah,
I
I don't know.
understand
It's up
totally.
to you. That
Yeah.
could be. We have so many. I feel like just you mentioned your diet and sleep, but there's so much more to unpack. So I don't know. Hopefully, if it's up, if it's okay with you at some point, it doesn't have to be next week or tomorrow. But I'd like to unpack you and present you
Sure. Let's see,
every aspect to know.
give people who watch this an opportunity to ask questions. And if they have some questions that they'd like to ask me, I'd be more than happy to expand on what I know and what I can share with people.
Cool. Sounds great. All right. Thanks, John. I
All
appreciate
right,
your
Michael,
time.
thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. It was great.
Yeah, it was great. Thanks, John. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.